Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of From Change to Change. My name is Marcus Simmons. This is my wife.
Hi, my name is Crystal Simmons.
And
as always, Dr. Matthew Green. It's a family affair.
and this is the infamous Halo Simmons. Look, Pop, say hi. Say hi. Say hi. So today's episode is going to be about physical fitness, physical health, should I put it that way? Yeah. Because it is so important that we maintain ourselves. And it's not a coincidence that my little man is here, because he's the one that propels my overstanding that I have to preserve myself. I have to be around for him when he grows older, because I believe, God forbid, if I lay around and get sick and can't throw him in the air when he gets old enough to want that dangerousness, if I can't throw him in the air, I'm going to be the bad guy, especially if his little friend's dad is throwing him up in the air and catching him. So.
Yeah, you say that, Marcus, and I'm a new father myself. I have a 10-month-old, and it is amazing to me. It makes you acutely aware of how your body changes.
Yes.
Because all of those things of getting down on the floor, chasing after that crawling baby, muscles hurting differently, right? And needing to sit and just general flexibility is something I noticed that I seem to have lost my flexibility.
Right. Definitely.
So these young ones definitely remind us of the importance of physical health.
Right. So I'm gonna start by saying that I have been a personal trainer for maybe about 25 years now. Of course, since COVID, things have kind of slowed down. But I used to do the whole bodybuilding, I was addicted to the working out, and but my mistake was, it wasn't a mistake because I started fitness in prison. When I went to jail, fitness was my Adderall, it was my medication, it helped me deal with the mental health, the mental trauma that we often talk about here on From Change to Change. That's what got me through, right? But then when I got out, it was all I knew. So I got educated in it and I kept it up. And then life happened and I had to slow down. I couldn't get to the gym as often as I used to, so I had to improvise. But the first thing that I want people to understand is that you don't have to go to that extent to be healthy, right? Because, as I mentioned, I was addicted to working out and going to the gym and nothing else mattered. I see that now. that nothing else mattered unless I could release those endorphins, right? That comes from working out. I was addicted to that endorphin release. However, the definition of exercise today that I know is any physical movement.
Right.
You bring up some good points there, Marcus, because I think everybody's sort of approach and how they get into physical health is a little different, right? Like how you got into it and what you need from it and where you need it now is a little different from where you started to where you see yourself now. Crystal, I'm curious, what made you really pay attention to physical health and get into this? Because we brought the Simmonses on here today because we're all talking about physical health and why it's important and how it's connected to multiple parts of our lives. What got you invested in that for yourself?
No problem. So my background is, so I was a former athlete, a collegiate athlete. I mean, played sports all my life. So it wasn't until I'd say probably sophomore, junior year of college when you start to realize, okay, you're not going to be a professional athlete. This like the road stops here. So, but you still have to most likely work a full-time job, right? But you don't want to have a part-time body. So, and that meant from, physical, diet, nutrition. That meant taking a look at yourself as far as making a complete effort, right? To work out properly, learn more about nutrition. Because after you're a college athlete, once you graduate, you now have to go out into the real world and balance that with work, with family, with friends. So that's really where the love of fitness and just like Marcus said, an overall health aspect came into play. Because you want to eat a balanced diet. You still want to enjoy life, move around with your loved ones. And then it kind of expands from there. You learn to involve family and friends. You learn ways how to take mom and dad. Yeah, give them examples, even if it's just dancing. If they love to dance, if they love to walk around their neighborhood, things like that. Anything to get people moving, like Marcus said. Exercise these days is any form of physical movement.
Right.
Right. If you have to put a video game on your treadmill to walk, you're running through the forest. Anything to get you moving. So unfortunately, in this day and age, sedentary jobs are sitting down a lot. I mean, it causes a lot of problems. So the less we move, the more our muscles tend to stop working and organs. So that movement is key. And then, of course, along with diet and nutrition. And you don't have to diet, but just healthy choices.
Right.
I was telling my wife just yesterday, my hamstring just started hurting, right? And I was thinking about what you're saying about just sitting down so much. And it hurts when I sit down. And I just think about how often I sit down all day, right? Like it's just a natural position.
Yes, our skeletal is not something that we should sleep on, because if constantly sitting down and not having a standing desk, it actually, your wrists you can start having arthritic problems, in the wrist. You can start having it in your lower back, start having it in your knees. So that's why people really need to start being mindful. Being mindful.
Definitely.
We get so distracted with making money to pay our bills that we forget the most important thing. And like Crystal and I always talk about, you can have all of the ambition, all of the initiative in the world. However, if you don't live long enough, all the degrees, all the money, none of that means nothing if you don't live long enough. So we first have to make up our mind to live long enough.
And that, Crystal, you said something that really made me think. You transitioned from a college athlete to being out on your own, right? Where as a college athlete, you got a coach. You got people who help you condition, train. When you graduate, and most people don't have that. So how did you go about having that mindset or teaching yourself, here are the things I need to do to take care of myself? Because I think that for a lot of people at home, one of the barriers they have is they don't know what to do, right? And as you and Mark are saying, it's like, just do anything. But for a lot of people, it's like, I need somebody to tell me what to do. But you're talking, right, I think it would be really insightful because you transitioned from having somebody telling you what to do to, I got to manage this all on my own.
Exactly. So a good place to start for beginners, and like Marcus said, or anyone who you're training, a rule of thumb is normally you would have them fill out a questionnaire, your likes and dislikes, and we're gonna start with something that you like to do. If you like to dance, if you have family, friends, children, we would like to get them involved. If that's not the case, you can always start with ideally 30 minutes of activity, at least 3 times a week. That can be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It is going to take some willpower. It is going to take some setting alarms. Maybe, with the convenience of smartwatches, smart TVs, have it set to where it can buzz you. If you're at work and you do work a sedentary job, and every hour it'll wave the arms and you need to exercise. That means it's time to get up and walk around at your job. If not, YouTube, you can look at, exercises for beginners. There are tons of resources out there with no weights. You can get started just doing body weight exercises for 30 minutes. Of course, what I always recommend, if you do not exercise, and you haven't for years, please consult a doctor, right? Go to your doctor, go to your primary care physician, make sure you're healthy enough to start exercising. A lot of people take that for granted.
Right.
Oh, I'm just gonna start walking, or I want to start running. The temperature is constantly changing outside. You don't know if you have any underlying conditions, heart, stroke, lung conditions, anything like that can worsen your experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or make it very difficult when you start exercising, and you don't want to start off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
Because now you're trying to start healthy, and then you got a sour taste in your mouth because of an underlying condition that you may be unaware of.
Yes.
So
yes,
definitely,
yes.
consult your doctor if you're new to exercising, if you haven't done it, if you have a little previous background in it, that's fine. But still, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to get checked by your primary care physician and make sure you haven't developed anything in the months or years, since
Right.
working out.
Right.
And then also ask them. There's My Plate. They have exercises on there along with nutrition. As far as the three food groups, but the goal is to get started.
Right.
The goal is to get started, and you have to ask your primary care physician, and then navigate there. Because if you can't start exercising, then you need to get addressed that situation first.
So one thing I have noticed with myself getting old, and I used to do yoga a lot more than I do now, and I liked yoga because it worked on both strength and flexibility.
Yes.
And as I get older, I noticed, right, flexibility is going. What for y'all thinking about encouraging people to be more physically healthy, right? Like, I think a lot of times people start to notice that they try to do something and the body doesn't respond the same way, right? And I first have started noticing this of like, well, I need to get more flexible.
Yeah.
Right? So what are some of the things that people can do to ensure that they are doing both? They're exercising, they're getting some of that cardiovascular fitness, they're getting some of that strength, but they're also getting flexibility in it also. Because it's easy to work out and not get that flexibility.
Right.
So you mean what exercises, or what do you mean? Just-
Anything. What would you
Well,
recommend
I
for
would
folks
recom-
at
Like a
home?
program.
I would recommend that first people recognize that you need this. Once you understand that you need this, that you need it, you're more likely to like give it your all, right? Because most people, we start doing stuff because other people do it, right? And that's not the way to get into. Now, for some people, that could plant a seed, and that seed can, but we just discussed, like we discussed on the last episode, that we play follow the leader a lot. Right? So when our inspiration when that inspiration who we delegated in another person slacks down, we slack down. So we have to approach this as I need this. My family needs this. A lifestyle. It has to be some sincerity in it. It's a lifestyle. And then we have to because a lot of being successful is mood. Is mood, emotional state, being in the mood to work out. And like I often say, we have to be conscious of the foods that we're consuming, because the way we we are forced to eat today, food has no nutritional value. So our mood is always fluctuating, right? Is it safe to say that? So if you're not eating stuff that gives you energy, eating stuff that gives you the mental capacity to, to think clearly, then then that's part of the challenge.
Right. And to piggyback off of Marcus and answer Matthew's question, so it does have to be a little bit well-rounded. So a good rule of thumb for the exercise component is you're gonna want something that has a warm-up to it. So meaning you never just want to go out and just start running full speed, or just start working and start hitting your maximum. If you're working out, just start hitting your maximum reps. So you want to warm up almost like a car. Right, if it's really cold outside, you turn on the ignition, let it warm up for a little bit. You wanna warm up those muscles, usually with we call it dynamic stretching, or you'll hear it dynamic mobility, which is you're stretching in motion. Right? Normally a good 5 to 10 routine. You can find anything on YouTube. But think back to like pre-K or kindergarten where they had you doing arm circles. Everybody, arm circles. Count. Very simple. You keep it simple. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Lubricate those joints.
Yeah, that's really what you're doing. You're warming up the joints. And then you can get into your exercise routine, and especially for beginners, that may only be 20, 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. You really just want to get the heart rate elevated.
Right.
Okay. And then once your exercise is over, whatever you choose to do for that day, whether it's upper body, you're working upper body or lower body, after that you want to do a cool down. So a cool down, that's where you're going to static stretch. You're going to hold the muscle for 5 to 10 seconds and pull. Not too much uncomfortability, but just a little bit past uncomfortable. But you want to stretch what you just worked out. So we always have to remember that warm up and that cool down. And that's how you're going to start to incorporate more flexibility, especially if you don't have time to just dedicate, 30 or an hour to, just to yoga specifically. That's how you're going to incorporate it in any workout. So whether you're cycling, whether you're boxing, you're weightlifting, must do a warm up. Try to keep it range of motion, lubricate the joints, as Marcus said. Get into your workout. You're just trying to elevate the heart rate. And then you want to cool down also. That's where, of course, you drink your water in between. If you're drinking protein, things like that, you want to do that after. But stretching is a must. If you don't do anything, stretching, let stretching be the only thing.
Yeah, flexing also. Flexing, but that's when you get into a more advanced version of working out. You want to flex the muscle that you're working. That way, the mind-muscle connection is there, and you're telling that muscle, you're having a conversation with that muscle, like I need you to perform, I need you to grow, I need you to get strong.
And the physical health is linked to so many other things in our lives.
Yes,
it's something that often gets neglected because we're too busy with work, we're too busy with other things. I think one of the things I'm curious about from hearing from y'all is not everybody has, one, access to a gym.
Right.
Two, like an hour, 2 hours to drive there, get your workout and drive home.
Right.
And so what would you say to those folks? And I'll add to it, how important is it for people just starting out to, listen to your body, right? Like I think for people who do exercise a lot and are into their own physical health, they know what it means to listen to their body.
Right.
But for somebody starting out, you have no idea what that means.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would definitely start off by using free resources, and you don't have to go somewhere. You don't have to look at a gym membership. You can do enough with just body weight. You with just your body weight. YouTube is a great place to start.
Right.
If you're into, like we said, the education of it, look behind. You can Google the person you're watching, Google their names, or there's a lot of health, NASCM, ACE, fitness and health. There's a lot of places that are gonna have, good tools, and get family involved. So, prime example, if you do have a family, if you do have young ones, if you have kids, get them involved. So we work out at home. Halo is in the room with us. So, because they're watching everything.
Yes, they are.
Believe it or not, they are watching everything. He's trying to pick up dumbbells. because he sees, oh yeah,
He's gonna perform some squats for y'all.
yeah, he do squats.
All right.
Yeah.
So they're watching. Make it a family activity.
Right.
Use him. Let him be your weight. Or let your little
right,
one.
right.
If you're doing barbell curls, okay, Halo, I'm gonna curl you today,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna hold you and do my body squats. So don't be afraid to get your partner involved. Look, you can YouTube partner stretches, partner workouts, family workouts. There's thousands of views. Thousands of videos. There's so much content.
Yeah.
So much content out there.
I remember when I was first trying to get back into shape and take my physical fitness more seriously. I was introduced to what's called a 7-minute workout, where it's like 30-second interval
right,
training.
right.
And it kicked my butt, but it was all at home. It took 7 minutes to do, and you just do it every day. If
Any
you got-
equipment?
And you need a chair. That's it.
Right,
You just
right,
need
right,
a chair.
Right, right. And that was mainly for not more so building muscle, but endurance.
Yep.
Endurance and like heart, like your internal organs, because you have to realize your internal organs get a workout when you're working out as well, because your internal organs can lose muscle, muscle strength as well. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's the purpose of getting your heart rate elevated, taking these deep breaths in the middle of in the middle of working out. Your lungs get exercised. So all of this stuff really goes hand in hand.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I always think about is that the connection between mind and body,
Right.
right? Like the connection between mental health, physical health.
Yes, yes,
And I think about the audience here and the members of Vote and the way that taking care of both your mental health and physical health can be ways you respond and heal from trauma in
Yes,
many ways, right?
yes,
Because
yes.
part of Vote is working with formerly and currently incarcerated folks, and physical health and exercise is often a tool. Sometimes it can be a crutch.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a tool that you need to pay attention to
Yes.
in order to both heal and make yourself sort of, full in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, as I said before, man, this has to be a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, look, man, my wife will tell you, but I'm just blessed that she has the same dedication to her physical health as I do. But I really believe that the same way I can prepare for Mardi Gras all year, I can prepare for Christmas, I can prepare for all of these things. I put that same preparation into my health, right?
Yeah.
So and she'll attest to that. So and then when you look at this young man, like.
You gotta be there for
I have
that.
to be there,
You
man.
got to.
I have to be there.
Yeah. Well, I think it's such an important conversation. We only got a few minutes left. And I hate to wrap it up so quick, but it's an important conversation, and it's part of this whole series that we're having. Like some of our episodes, we're going to be talking about current issues. Some of our episodes, we're going to be talking about what do we do in our community to take care of ourselves. We're going to be talking about services, and I think this is just as important conversation as all of those.
Yes, it is. It is. So guys, as you see, we've come to the end of our episode, and we thank you guys for joining us, and I really hope that you got something out of this episode, because I'm going to repeat again, it is very important that you preserve yourself, because your kids, your community, everyone is relying on it, right? So until next time, guys, no surrender,
No
No
retreat.
retreat.